And joining us on line number 3 is Anthony. They call him Big Cheese Mongiello, who's the CEO of Formaggio Cheese. Here's the website for that cheese company, formaggiocheese.com. Now, Anthony is the official inventor of Pizza Hut's famous stuffed crust pizza. However, he didn't get all the money. And we're talking a lot of money here. Anthony, welcome to Flashpoint. Thanks for joining us. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Mongiello?
You did.
I did? Good.
Mongiello, yes.
Mongiello. So you have an interesting story here. I remember when Pizza Hut came out with that. That was a big campaign, and they put all that cheese in the crust. And, when you get to the crust, it's kind of dry. A lot of people throw away the crust because it's all bread, and maybe they're filled up by that time. But they decided, let's shoot some cheese in there, and that was a big seller. But you're the guy that came up with that. Talk to me about that part.
Well, the whole question is where did they get the idea to put cheese in the crust? And that was from me, Flash.
Okay.
In 1987, I was awarded a patent for a product I called stuffed crust pizza. I even applied for a trademark called stuffed crust pizza, and they told me that the words stuffed crust pizza would be too descriptive, so I had to change a little bit, and I called it stuff in the crust. But again, in 1988, I sent my patent, my trademark, my method for making my stuffed crust pizza to Pizza Hut, and as per their request, I sent it to their R&D department. And as crazy as it seems, I said to myself, even back then when I was much younger, I said, but they want me to send this to the people that they pay a large salary to come up with new ideas. But what am I going to say? I did what they asked me to do. So I sent them my patent. And to talk about stuffed crust pizza in general, stuffed crust pizza was meant to be two products in one, Flash, where you'd eat a slice of pizza, and then instead of having that dry crust, as you just said, you'd have maybe a calzone or a sausage roll.
Right.
Maybe broccoli and cheese. So you'd have two products in one.
We there? What happened to her?
Yeah, we're there, Flash.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought I lost you there. Go ahead.
No, I'm here. So the reality is that unfortunately I did send it to them, and I called them, and we had a good conversation. I sent it to them, and that was in 1988. And then again, we sent it out to some big chains like Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut included, in 1991.
Okay.
And then in 1994, they're advertising stuffed crust pizza. I get a call from a friend of mine telling me, congratulations, I guess you sold your pizza concept to Pizza Hut. And I couldn't believe it, but there it was in the newspaper that Pizza Hut spent $45 million as an advertising campaign for their new product called stuffed crust pizza. Can you imagine being me and reading that in the newspaper?
$45 million they spent on that ad campaign?
The first one, Donald Trump, Rush Limbaugh, McEnroe, all these very famous celebrities were advertising this product.
Yeah.
But the truth is, what people don't realize is Pizza Hut at the time, to be honest with you, was doing, from my statistics that I've looked up, about $4.6 billion in sales.
Oh, my God.
And stuffed crust pizza increased their sales by over $600 million in the first 10 months in which they introduced the pie. So from going from 95 to 96, I should say, because they introduced it in 95. They launched the advertising campaign in 94, 95, during, I think it's March Madness, the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
They started to sell this product, and it took them from 4.6 to $5.2 billion in sales for a product they didn't even own.
Unbelievable. So obviously you had to take them to court, and we all know how expensive that can be. Can you kind of walk me through that process, Anthony?
Absolutely. Before we got to court, something happened the day I read the newspaper article. I started cold calling Pizza Hut, Wichita, Kansas. Now, back then, there was no internet. There was no World Wide Web. It was just an operator on a telephone when you dialed 411. And what happened is these people started answering the phone in Wichita, Kansas, out in Pizza Hut's office. And the woman says, "Hi, can I help you?" And I explained, "My name is Anthony Mongiello. I want to talk to someone about this stuffed crust pizza that you guys are going to be launching next year." And by the third phone call, the guy picks up the phone and he says to me, "We know who you are. We're going to offer you $50,000 for your patent and your trademark." Again, can you imagine being me? Here I am reading this article. They just spent $45 million to advertise this product, and this man, who I don't even know, offers me $50,000 on a phone call. And that's when I said, okay, I have to get an attorney, and we have to sue them. And that's what I did. I went to Manhattan, and I sought out a good attorney who happened to be my dad's attorney. Now, my dad actually passed away 6 months before all of this happened. And I reached out to one of his attorneys because my dad had a few patents in his lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought him the concept. I brought him the patent, and we looked at what Pizza Hut was doing. And my attorney at the time went ahead and said that he feels that there's a cause of action for patent infringement that they want to take against Pizza Hut. And the truth is, Flash, back then, I mean, I was just starting my business. I didn't have a lot of money at all. And it was going to be a very arduous thing for me to try and sue Pizza Hut, such a giant, you know, in the industry.
Right.
But the lawyer had such confidence, the partners all did, they took it on a contingency basis. So if they didn't win, they didn't get paid.
Right.
And that's how much they believed in this lawsuit. And these are expert Manhattan-located patent attorneys. So we went to court, and we actually didn't get to court. What happened was you do all this work. You go through discovery, and then Pizza Hut, they did depositions of me in front of a video camera for 3 days. They tried to break me. They tried to get me to say things that would help their case and hurt mine, but it didn't go down that way. And the realization is Pizza Hut moved for what's called summary judgment. They didn't want me to be able to get in front of a jury of my peers. They knew if I did get in front of a jury that they could possibly lose this case.
Sure.
Without question.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked Judge Nickerson in the Brooklyn District Court, which is where we sued them, to rule on what's called summary judgment. So they take all the facts of the case that support their side, and they present it to the judge, and they ask the judge to decide the case. My lawyer said, no, he don't want to do that. He wants us to have a jury trial.
Mm-hmm.
But Judge Nickerson ruled that he's going to go ahead and take the jury trial away from me.
Oh, no.
Now, wait a minute. This is America.
Yeah.
I have a right to a jury, don't I?
Everybody does, yeah.
We think we do. But people with all this power, sometimes they abuse it. And they do what's in their best interest and definitely not my best interest at the time.
So fast forward, what did you get? Anything? They offered you what, 50,000? Did they bump that up some or no?
No, we actually went to a settlement meeting. Now we sued them for $1 billion, and the $1 billion lawsuit was because of the life of the patent that was still left, because most patents only last 17 years. And at the time, Pizza Hut had 8,300 outlets. I mean, that's $75,000 an outlet if they had to pay me. Mm-hmm. The $24 million that we asked for. So we went to this settlement meeting, and the $1 billion, which is what was the lawsuit, they asked us what we would settle for, and we told them $24 million. They looked at us, basically laughed at us, because to them it was just this David and Goliath scenario,
right?
And said, no, for that much money, we're going to fight you. And that's what they did. And they dug their heels in. They got Judge Nickerson to take away my ability to be in front of a jury and had him rule, and he upheld my patent but said, oh, their product is different. And I'm like saying to myself, what could be different? You're stuffing the crust of a pizza. And if you understand the differences, when Pizza Hut cuts their pizza, Flash, they cut the pockets open. And they're trying to say that my pockets on the end that, you know, where the crust was stuffed would be closed after it was sliced. But the truth is, it's only a recommendation in the patent.
Yeah.
It's not, it never reaches the step of cutting, because if you read my patent, it's a very simplistic process. You start with a flat dough base, and you place a plurality of separate individual food portions. And that's what they did. Then you stretch the dough over to, you know, cover those food products. And the last step of my patent says to bake the unbaked pie to create a pizza. So, Flash, when do you cut a pie? After it's cooked, right?
Yeah, after it's cooked, right.
Well, then how does cutting undo patent infringement? So you can't undo patent infringement by adding a step. But unfortunately, we found out later on, much later on, and we've produced a documentary called Stolen Dough. And in this, the producers went ahead and found documentation where Judge Nickerson was brought up for disciplinary actions for corporate favoritism and taking donations to, let's say, some aspect that he shouldn't have taken those donations for, as far as charities.
Mm-hmm.
And we come to realize that, unfortunately, in a David Goliath scenario that I went through, I lost.
So they took care of the judge in the case. That's kind of the bottom line on this one. And if you would have had
that's just the way it went.
Yeah, if you would have had a different judge, you probably would have had a different outcome then.
Yes, and if I would have been able to be in front of a jury of my peers and explain everything that happened, I mean, Pizza Hut cannot deny and never had denied the fact that I sent them the product. They never had the concept of stuffed crust pizza before Anthony Mongiello sent it to them. No, it wasn't like that. And there wasn't even denial on their part. All they did was they took my patent, gave it to their attorneys, and said, look, let's figure out how we can get around this patent and still stuff the crust of a pizza. Now, is that what ideas and concepts in America is built on? I don't think so.
No, you got screwed big time. Anthony, I'm going to have to run here, but I would love, you're a great interview. I'd love to have you come back, because what I'd like to do down the road is have you give advice, because this happens a lot. This happens a lot. It's a David and Goliath battle. You got to deal with the court system. I know the court system. I work for the local court system. Nothing on the level that you had to deal with here. But maybe you could give some advice to our listeners and talk about what you're doing now, Formaggio Cheese. I'm going to drive everybody to that website, formaggiocheese.com, because obviously you kept moving forward. You're very successful. And this was a learning experience for you. And I'm sure for your lawyers as well. They had to be pretty baffled by what happened in court. So you take care. Thanks for joining us this Saturday morning, okay?
Thanks for having me, Flash. I look forward to it.
Yeah, and I'll check out that video, too. Stolen dough. Boy, did he get screwed. $1 billion he sued for. I remember Pizza Hut was huge, too. Now, they have slimmed down. So, what goes around comes around.